Mark, okay, so the trade deadline is coming up on Tuesday. It seems obvious that the Patriots are going to be buyers, if anything, and they have quote unquote sold, but with Duggar and White. Let's talk about White first.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is house cleaning, and they save salary, and these guys weren't contributing. What happened to Keon White, in your opinion?
It's a great question. He so this offseason, it looked like he was going to be the starting edge rusher opposite of Harold Landry. He lost that job, got beat out by Kaylavon Chason, I'd say in the middle towards late end of training camp. He gave a sort of a weird interview with Karen Grigian, just saying, "Well, if they're paying me, I'll do whatever. As long as they're paying me, I'm fine." He then missed, was it week 2 with an illness? And that's it's one, it's odd for a player to miss a game because of an illness. So naturally everyone wanted to talk to him. He refused to talk to me or any media member after missing a game with an illness. And then guys shut us out. He wouldn't talk to us this season. And for me, when a player does that, it just signals that you're unhappy. Like you don't want to talk because you don't want to get in trouble. Now, that's me speculating, but it doesn't help when a player just straight refuses to talk to the media when something's going on. So me looking on the outside looking in, it looked like Keon White is unhappy. He lost his job, and then on Sunday he was a healthy scratch for the first time in his career. So it was clear to me something was going on,
What
right? Like things were not adding up to me. So to see him moved was not at all surprised. I don't think you want a guy who's unhappy on your team, especially when you're trying to establish a new culture.
part of the problem, and I'm sure this contributed to him being unhappy, is that he stopped sacking the quarterback. In the first 2 weeks of last season, he was a revelation.
Yeah.
And then after that, he completely disappeared. It didn't have anything to do with Vrabel and a new scheme. He was not getting to the quarterback for the last dozen weeks of last year, too.
And the other thing too, I know for a fact he was unhappy with the coaching staff last year. He remember like the final game, he even said like, "Oh yeah, there needs to be changes." We're all like, "Oh wow." He wants a coaching change. Well, he got it and he was still unhappy. And I think the thing about him too that people maybe forget, he's in his third season. He's 26 years old. He's actually older than um Kayla Chason, which is crazy because Chason's been in the league for like 6 years, but Keon White came into the NFL as a 24-year-old rookie who was raw, and it's tough. It's like you draft an older guy, you want him to play and start immediately. It didn't happen with Keon White, it didn't happen in the Gerard Mayo era, and it's clearly was not happening here in this first chapter of the Mike Vrabel stuff. So yeah, not great for him, and I think that's more of a maybe an addition by subtraction for the Patriots.
You mentioned, well, Fred mentioned the deadline is coming up, and obviously, and you posted this too, there are a lot of moving parts in that running back room. You didn't have Ramondre Stevenson at practice yesterday with a toe injury that popped up. Travion Henderson seems to be just finding himself, but after that, there are a ton of question marks with the deadline coming up.
Yeah, it's a little concerning. I mean, they added veteran Dearness Johnson to the practice squad yesterday, but he was just in Arizona. In Arizona, they actually lost their starting running back, and then they lost their backup starting running back, who was Michael Carter. And Dearness Johnson only played in one game. I think they settled on like Bam Knight or Zonovan Knight is his name out there in Arizona. So you have a guy who's played a little bit. They signed Terrell Williams to the 53-man roster, but like I look at it as you're an injury away, right, from having to rely on Terrell Williams and Dearness Johnson. I would love to see them bring in another veteran of some sorts. Even I think the name a lot of people are bringing up is Jerome Ford in Cleveland, who Mike Vrabel was with last year. I just think you need another body there, right? Like with Ramondre and Travion, sure you can get by, but if you are going to make a playoff push, it's about adding depth to other areas in your team to just sort of prepare for the worst. And when you're looking at Terrell Williams and Dearness Johnson, I think there's just a lot that could go wrong with that group.
Okay, so the Patriots are in a very interesting position because they're going to make the playoffs, but they have had. This is just in theory about what you do at the trade deadline, not what you do in the offseason. This is the trade deadline, so don't freak out. But you're a playoff team, but you don't know how good you are in comparison to other playoff teams. Really, you beat Buffalo in Buffalo. Buffalo lost to Atlanta the next week. I'm not dismissing anything you did, but do you think they're going to win the Super Bowl? I would assume no. But So you do want to add. I don't think there's any question about that. My question is theoretically, Mark, like what's the most that you would give up in trade capital? Like, would you give up a first round pick to improve the team with a guy with like a couple years of term that's in his late 20s? Is that something that you would do now? Are you comfortable with where you are enough that you would make that kind of sacrifice, that kind of future asset to get better now?
It's a great question, and I want to say no. I still think they're in the. I still think they're in the beginning stages here. I think even like moving on from Kyle Duggar, it wasn't about making your team better. I mean, their safety depth is worse, but what it did was clear up around 16, 17 million of cap space next offseason, which is what you needed. And in 2027, I think it takes 18 million off the book. So like you lose depth in the short term. You're even paying Kyle Duggar's contract not to be here this year, but you gain valuable cap space next offseason. And for me, that was the Patriots saying, "Hey, this is also about setting us right in the future." So, like, yeah, I agree. They're a playoff team. I don't view them as a Super Bowl contender, but like, you have a great young quarterback in Drake May, and I guess anything's possible. I wouldn't trade a first round pick. I mean, if you're gonna tell me, oh, they're gonna get like a Miles Garrett type player, yeah, maybe you could convince me. But even someone like Trey Hendrickson, who's like 30 years old,
Well, he's last year of his deal too. Like
right. I wouldn't do anything like that. I think you need to hit on your first round picks. And you need to build solid depth here. And one thing this team does need is elite players. But I think a great way to try to get to elite players is in the first round of the NFL draft. And that's something the Pats haven't quite been able to do. But Christian Gonzalez is a good example, and obviously Will Campbell. You found a left tackle, Drake May. So like you have some young players who you found through the draft. So I would say no, don't trade a first or second round pick. Like if you're telling me you can send a third or a fourth and you can get a legitimate starter who's signed through next year, yeah, sure, go for it. I mean, I don't think wide receiver is a big need anymore, but I mean, I wouldn't say no to AJ Brown. I mean, AJ Brown with Kayshon Boutte and Stephon Diggs.
but you hear what Schefter said about Brown is that why possibly would Philadelphia trade him at the deadline when you could open up salary caps opened up in the offseason, the amount of teams willing to deal with him gets exponentially larger, plus you have him through this Super Bowl run. There's
Yeah.
really you'd get more for him probably in the offseason. Because there's more teams competing for him. Plus you'd have him for you're a Super Bowl contender. My thing with the trade deadline that I've thought about now is that unless you're firing your coach or a coach and GM, I don't know how many like even guys with expiring contracts, how many like elite players that I'm trading. Do you understand? Like even like Cincinnati, like unless I'm firing my coach, these wins like still matter a little bit. Like I don't know how tanking the season I'm going to get into unless like Miami, I trade like edge rushers and stuff because you're going to blow everything up. But outside of a team or like Tennessee, I'd be like, all right, move everyone. But unless I have a coach I'm firing, does that make any sense to you? I'd trade depth and I'd trade starters, but I don't know if I'd trade elite players and sacrifice wins necessarily. Just kind of concede that I'm not going to win any more games for the rest of the season. Basically, is
And I
what I
think
want to
most
do.
and I think most good players who get traded, it's based off contract situation. Like one, they don't think the player's worth the money anymore, or two, they don't think they'll be able to re-sign the player. That's
Mhm.
why AJ Brown got traded out of Tennessee. They thought they could get a younger replacement who was cheaper. I think things like that.
And
But
that
like
was a
for
disaster. But yes,
right. And I
go ahead.
think for the Patriots, though, it's more about, all right, can they add another edge rusher because, Anthony Jennings is your top backup? Could they add another cornerback because Charles Woods is your top backup? Even at safety now with Duggar gone, Del Pettis is your top backup. Are there, I would say lower grade veterans
That's
you can
it.
add for, fifth, sixth, seventh round picks
Yeah.
that'll just help you, over the second half of the season.
And I think those are the guys that can contribute that are available. And that's what I because like if I'm a bad team but I'm starting a new program, I don't know. I'm trading depth pieces that are like expiring or got a year left that I don't think are going to be part of my program, like Duggar or something. That's a good team. But if I'm not trading one of my star players because what's that message to your team? Like we're developed. Like I'm in control now. Unless they're a malcontent, I don't know if I'm trading them. All right, because you saw what happened with A.J. Brown. That was a disaster. That ruined the organization. Part of a movement that ruined the organization. All right, Mark Daniels, great stuff as always. Mass Live, read him. He covers the Patriots. Thanks, Mark, for joining us after the bus stop.
Thanks, guys.
See you,
Appreciate
Mark.
All right, appreciate it. Do you know what I'm saying, though?
Well, the one idea that I'm coming around to is in a couple of years, Drake May is going to make $65 or $70 million. Christian Gonzalez his salary is going to jump exponentially, and down the road, you're going to have to pay Will Campbell too, if he continues the way he's going. I mean, look at what happened to the Washington Commanders. I think if you have a run like this, and you have a quarterback playing this well on his rookie contract, you do your best to maximize this before you can't afford to bring people in.
I'm talking about more from a seller's perspective.
No, I understand that, but from the Patriots' perspective, you do your best to press and see if you can't pry one of those guys loose.
But say you give up a first round pick, you pry a guy loose from an organization, and then you don't make the playoffs or you lose in the first round.
Sure, that's always a possibility. But right now, you're 6-2. You're one of the best teams in the AFC, and you have a quarterback in year 2 of his rookie contract making nothing.
I would look at that more of as an offseason thing. The trade deadline, I don't know. It's we'll see.
Get expensive help while you can before this kid makes an obscene amount of cash.
Well, I agree, but you got time. You got 3 more years.
But there are there are no guarantees that you're going to be 6-2 next year.
No, but you can go into the offseason with the ability to trade and get improve there.
Strike while the iron's hot, Fred. The iron's really hot right
Or you can wait
hot.
until the draft and some team's super hot on where you're picking, and you can go and turn that pick around. And the trade deadline's not necessarily the best time for anyone to trade, but we'll see. I'd buy if I was the Patriots, but I'd buy like Mark Daniels said. I'd buy I'd get an edge rusher here. I'm not Myles Garrett, but
I would bet that's the direction they go to.
They get a secondary edge rusher, which is what I would probably do.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.